Thank you for joining the Sharpest College Football Podcast. This is our Week 7 preview. I am BuckMetrics, joined as always by Robert Martin. Robert, sorry to catch you off guard here and ask some investigatory questions right off the bat, but have you recently made any enemies in North Korea or Russia?
Not recently. Maybe some long-standing ones, but
Anyone in anonymous who might want to have a score to settle with you?
I don't think so. Why?
Okay, because I'm thinking our models might have been compromised based on the
Maybe.
last 2 weeks. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're all good then. We think
We're good. I think
Okay.
we're okay. I don't think people are hacking us.
Okay. All right. Thank you everyone for joining us. If you are new, let me go to the glossary here. This is our glossary. And if you're returning, as you know by now, you are by definition brilliant. You will notice here I have underlined a couple of items in the glossary. I bring this up because this is the first time this year I have an actual Apex Plus in GGAB Plus. Not to make it too nerdy here, but there's a different model I use that Robert and I call the Athena model for normalizing stats, and that's how we get this Apex Plus and GGAB Plus, adjusting them for strength of opponent. Now, this requires, and how do I say this? It looks very heavily into conferences and where each team stands within a conference. So this is the first week we could do it because every team needs to play one conference game for this to happen. If you're really interested, I threw UConn in Conference USA since they've already played a couple games in there, and Notre Dame obviously in the ACC. You're also going to see some Athena lines and an Athena ranking actually. So when you see Athena, that's what this is, just my newest model. And you'll see that it's not too different from the BuckMetrics model. It mirrors it, but it's interesting to just have as a separate data point. It went nice for confirmation. Last week it didn't feel like it, but we actually broke even at 7-7. If there's any good news here, we're only 2 games under 500. My totals basically, I don't know if you remember, they were like 1 game over 500. So the totals on my model were money losers, and they're like carrying the weight right now at 9-4. So good to have that regression there. Now we can to the mean. My totals usually do really well, so this is more like it. What's not like it is basically the dual model plays at a robust 4-11 on the season, but it's early, and we are due for some improvement back to the mean, right?
Yeah, I think so. There is a couple of ones that I think we'd want back. I think my model might not be properly enough adjusted. I think there has really been a road effect this year. I think the Texas game, the UCLA game, like Texas at Florida, Penn State at UCLA. I guess UTSA at Temple should be thrown on that list as well.
Yep. Yep.
And that's just to scratch the surface there. There's been a lot of massive underperformances on the road, and I think I might have to look at that more in the modeling on a going forward for that.
Yeah, and what's interesting too is based on that, I thought maybe I'm going to have, when I, for the first time, use the Athena model real time just to see if there's going to have any kind of like red flags. And what you'll see is when we're doing our games, the Athena model is just confirming everything. So it just makes it seems like this is like one of those years. Again, Clay Travis is sitting almost 60%. So it might just be one of those years. But it's young. It's early, like we said. All right, top 20 by my power rankings where Robert has them. I still have Michigan number 1. You're going to see my power rating here, and then we have Robert's ranking. I have the Athena rating here too. What sticks out to me here in the top 20 is Notre Dame at number 9. Your model has them at 23. I put this highlight before I dropped the Athenas, and then my model Athena has Notre Dame as number 2. Really just plugging around along and doing their business. Let's not remember, if they lost to 2 teams who are undefeated, who, if we go by your ratings, are number 10 and 24, or by Athena 8 and 9, or 12 and 15 by the BuckMetrics. Clearly, they've lost by two good teams by a score each. Curious about what you think about this. Do you think, I don't know if they're number 2 yet, although from predictively, I could actually see that being the case with a really good freshman quarterback who's playing well. If you had to pick one of these spots about, okay, going forward, do you think, not based on resume, but based on how you have to bet going forward, would you go with Athena at 2, BuckMetrics at 9, or Robert at 23?
I think they're a little better than 23. I can make the case for like 15, 16, something like that. The case for 2 is really hard. The case for 9 I also think is really hard. There's a lot of things I like about my model directionally, but there's a lot of other stuff I don't like about it. I think it is too low on Alabama. I'm not sure why. It's also probably a bit too low on just the SEC in general. I think it shouldn't be that low on them, but it's high on some. It's high on some SEC teams, like Missouri, but This is the thing. I think in some cases, I think Notre Dame is it should be they should be a ranked team, but I think they should be outside of the top 10. I think they should be solidly outside of the top 10. You want to make an argument for like 15th or something, sure, but I don't think they should be. They shouldn't. I think yours is too high. You made the argument too low, but you're too high. I think.
From a power rating standpoint, you're talking about like
Yeah.
basically who they could beat. Wow. Okay. I think they've got it figured out. So we'll see going forward. Now they do have a pretty easy schedule going forward. The toughest game is in a couple of weeks, hosting USC. But other than that, and actually I think they play Pitt this year too, if I'm not mistaken. And Pitt is Pitt the top 25 here? They're not, but they're hitting the top 10 in some of the metrics here too. And they have, I think, a good defensive team as well. So that might be the other one. That might be a little trigger for them. Like we just talked about at the end of the Week 6 review, they have, and I forget his name, Sten or something like that, the new quarterback. He had a really nice debut against BC. So Pitt might be a sneaky complete team. Man, the ACC is just going to be really interesting going forward. And Narduzzi's not going to win it there. It's too competitive. He'll definitely screw it up. All right, offensive ratings. Arkansas still number one here. Just brought back kind of Arkansas's high moment here when Bobby Petrino had that press conference, all his face all scarred up here. The one thing that one team that they were in the top 20 last week, but here we're at number 5 now for Kansas. The defense is still lacking. As I've said several times in victory laps, all they had to do apparently was just ship Jeff Grimes off to Wisconsin so he could ruin their season. But it's really working well. And don't forget, Jalen Daniels, for the first half of the year, was very often on the bum list. So Matt Lubick, the co-OC coming over from Nevada, has really turned things around. Kansas has an interesting game against Texas Tech this week, too. So wondering if we're actually going to talk about that game later. But I'm curious, how much do you believe in one-sided Kansas? Let me ask you this. One-sided team, which one do you want more, Kansas or USC?
I want to say USC. I think it's close, but I think I'd have those flipped. I'd have USC just slightly ahead of Kansas.
Interesting. So overall, how about overall? Basically neutral field.
That's still USC.
Wow.
I think they're
the receivers are just...
Kansas's defense isn't good either, though.
But I'll put it this way. I would trust in one game. I would trust Leipold more than Riley to get a defense together. Now, what's tricky is USC's receivers are just as good as it gets. They're just a nightmare. And this is probably Riley's best play calling season at USC. That would be a good game. Maybe if they had one of those play-in games between last Big 12 team and last Big 10 possible contender on conference championship game. That would be an interesting matchup. But yeah, keep an eye on Kansas. Their offense is, I think, for real. At this point, I don't know if there's many bad numbers out there. Do you see any teams that you don't believe in the top 20 offensively?
Other than Air Force, but that's because of that's because of defense. But other than that, no, everything else is pretty much where it should be.
No, offensively.
Offensively.
You don't think this is not we made the point just in the Week 6 review.
Yeah.
Air Force is a serious offensive team. If only they could tackle, they might be really a threat to do something here. All right, some of the team metrics here. So I've got the Team Ryan explosiveness. No real surprises in here, except for we've talked about this Purdue's passing game. Again, they brought in USC's old offensive line coach who was offensive coordinator just in title only, but it's working out so far. And here's one of those instances about Pitt. Let's just not overlook Pitt. Number 9 in receiving explosiveness. This is our first look at the GGAB Plus, so this is adjusted for quality of opponent too. And look who's number 4 here in terms of the best running offenses, adjusted for quality of opponent. Old Dominion. I think that close-ish game against Indiana is really showing off here, and they are just drubbing everybody else. They covered again last week against an overmatched fill in the blank. Who was it last week? Was that Coastal? I think.
Yes, Coastal.
Okay, yeah. I believe in Old Dominion. I don't know if they're number 4, but it's when we're adjusting for quality of opponent. Got to respect that, guys. Again, going back to Pitt, just keep an eye on them. I know that it's Narduzzi, and so that limits what it can do, but I'm seeing a lot of signs from Pitt, and I didn't really expect to be saying that before or even early season.
Yeah, Pitt is interesting in there as well. They do seem to be doing pretty well on a couple of key metrics, and that is something to watch. The ACC, though, is just like outside of Miami. It just feels like everyone just basically equal. And that being said, though, there's lots of times where you can find very clear advantages in some of those games where it's like, hey, this team is just better than this team, even though they're underdogs, right? So that's a really important point to watch with that.
Really, Pitt Virginia is going to be a fun game. That's going to be one to watch for sure. All right, player metrics here. New quarterback sneaks in at number one, Blake Horvath of Navy. Remember him from last year. Robert, I'm going to move to put the t-shirt in full view of the camera here. What a proud moment for my Kennesaw State Owls. Amari Odom, number 10 on the Apex list. Are you kidding me? And let's not forget, this is not adjusted for quality of opponent, number one. Number two, this kid had to play against Indiana. Let's not forget, Kennesaw State, Indiana, and he's the top 10. I want to do another victory lap on here because I said I think that they hired the right guy. Now Kennesaw State, the quarterback's in the top 10 for player Apex.
Yeah. No, it's crazy to see Kennesaw State on there. Jalen Daniels, again, one of the top quarterbacks. Bren Morton from Texas Tech. Trinidad Chambliss, again. And but I love how the Air Force and Navy, they're at the top two now because of that game. They dominated that game so much they both ended up as some of the top players. That's crazy. But yeah, like Lenore Sellers up there, Luke Altmaier, that's not, like, Illinois has been a fierce team on offense the last couple of weeks. Like, they've been really, against USC, they were amazing. Against Purdue, they could give Ohio State like a serious run for their money. I would not discount that. I'm sure we're talking about that game at some point, but man, like if you told me Ohio State lost at Illinois, that would not surprise me.
Yeah, and to that point, this guy Hank Beatty had a huge game against Purdue. Put him as my guy to spotlight here in the top 10 player Ryan. He wasn't in there last week, and selfishly just had to mention him because that makes me feel better about USC giving up a boatload of receiving yards in their 2-point loss. 2-point loss? Yeah, 2-point loss at Champaign a week and a half ago. Loss is loss, but I feel a little bit better after seeing him just do his thing and get to the top 5. All right, defensive power ratings. Mentioned this at the end of the week 6 review. You might remember I had made the case to say, look, I'm not sold on Arch Manning. I think Texas has some really shortcomings on offense. I've been saying for the last 15 months now. I think I made the case last week that Texas's defense is good enough to maybe drag them to a playoff spot. You can do that with a top 3 defense. Top 13 defense is not going to do it for you. I think that's my takeaway here. That was so bad against Florida that they went from number 1 to number 13. And not only that, to make it even worse, they gave up the top spot to the Sooners, who they play in Red River this week.
Yeah. And again, this is the thing, right? Florida gave Florida a good defense. Are they on this list? No, they are not. Okay.
Nope.
Their defense is okay, but the fact that they gave Archie Manning everything that he could possibly compete with, and they still, like, again, like, they are not even on this list and they did that. What's Oklahoma, the number 1 defense, going to do? And we remember the fits Ohio State's defense gave him, and Ohio State's defense is 10th. This is now 1. This is now 3 points higher. Very scary if you're a Texas fan of what's going to happen this weekend. Now, again, obviously, Oklahoma has a backup quarterback. Red River is going to be a great game. That's going to be I can't wait for that game. I've got it circled. Again, this is Canadian Thanksgiving, so I've told my family, I'm like, we're not making any plans for Saturday afternoon. I'm like, move the turkey to Sunday or Monday. We're not doing anything Saturday afternoon. But yeah, it's going to be a great game.
We are going to talk in detail about that one on Island Time. One other thing before I move on here, I do want to mention again, not to make this the Pat Narduzzi hour. We haven't given him a lot of crap, but look, number 11 defense, and we've seen some explosiveness on offense and a banging debut from that guy, Holstein, I forget his name already. Keep your eye on Pitt, guys. Just saying. For better and worse. All right. Defensive metrics here on a plus basis. From a passing standpoint, Oregon has dominated this, and we adjust for quality of schedule even more. BYU at number 8. It seems like BYU is getting overlooked a little bit to me this season. From a running standpoint, too, interesting once we adjust for strength of opponent, and I think for Arizona State, that game against Mississippi State's aging really nicely here. I've got them at the fifth best run defense, as we say in English here. So a couple of Big 12 teams that are actually playing some serious defense that it's interesting to keep your eye on here.
Yeah, BYU is a very interesting one. It's, on one hand, we didn't expect them to be particularly good after they lost their quarterback, but apparently they just don't care. They're just like, okay, we're still good. But no, they're a far better team than we thought they were. Just straight up. I didn't think they were going to be this good, but they're very good defensively, and even on offense, they're pretty good too. So I'm quite impressed with what I've seen from BYU this season, and I think we might see more of that. again, the Big 12 is again so open, and it's abundantly clear that this is going to be just like a knife fight, and someone's going to emerge, and that's going to be the team that makes the playoff. But I guess, as I mentioned last week, but the question is just who is that team going to be?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is I have no idea. But you can make a case for Texas Tech, Arizona State, BYU, Utah. Theoretically, even Cincinnati, we're getting to a point now with Cincinnati. You can make a case for Iowa State. You can make, like, there's a lot of teams you can make that case. Even Arizona, right? You can make that case for a lot of those teams.
Keep going. You haven't mentioned undefeated TCU, right?
No, TCU lost to Arizona State.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Again,
Yeah.
like, that's the thing. I just listed off like what 6 teams. That's like a third of the conference, and they're all competitive right now. And again, they're going to beat each other up, and they're going to cost themselves 2 playoff spots. But again, this is the way.
Yes.
This is how we've decided to do this, right? So this is the tiebreaker conference.
It is. All right, and the bum list. I think you're being a little generous. I'll tell you what. Our guy played us out of a win there. Just Owen McCown with an apex of 39. Thanks, pal, for really just crapping the bed up at Temple. I don't think he was on the top 10 last week, but he just shot up to appropriately. Number 2 on the bum list is probably the best place where this guy can be, considering how he played in Philadelphia. Otherwise, these names are all the same here, except for Caden Anderson at Wyoming. We'll forgive that. It was a hailstorm that they were playing in, or like after a hailstorm. I don't know. That was a weird thing. Did you see any highlights from that one?
No, I didn't. But again, now at least UNLV has beaten a team that has won games now, and they would have actually done that already because UNLV, right? UCLA, right? They're coming back. They are making progress. But again, though, it's crazy that they still have not played like an actually serious team yet. So that day's coming.
Not this week, though. They've got an easy win this week. I can't remember who, but they've got to walk over here. All right, the sharpest look back. So we look back on a few games and just see what went wrong. Like, this is going to sound self-serving. We both had the dual model play was over 56.5. The total was 40 between Vanderbilt and Alabama, 14-30. I don't want to. This is going to sound nerdy, but just to give a little context here, I don't use my model directly to predict a score. I use my model, and just to go back to one of the founding points of my model, one of the first podcasts I listened to on sports betting was View from Vegas by Dave Tooley, who used to write for the Daily Racing Form. And he had some sharp guy on. This guy's point, I think that's very much been validated in my eyes, is the most predictive thing about scoring is not scoring, but yards per play. And I've taken that other step. When I model a game out, I'm not modeling out the score. The score is a function of what I'm modeling out the yards per play to be on the offensive and defensive side of the balls. And then I quantify it based on a factor to get to a points. And I say that because when I run the yardage and the turnovers and the yardage per play for both sides on here, this really projected to a score of 33-26. I don't know how much you watched this game, Robert, but was the absolute killer for an overplay was there were 2 red zone turnovers. 2 turnovers are fine. If it's early in the drive, it's the better. But you've chewed up all this clock, and it's worse than a punt. Because the other team's pinned back, and it's taken a lot of time to get there for no points.
I did actually watch a lot of this game because I had Vanderbilt plus 11 or 12. I think I had plus 11, plus 13, and that's painful. Because, again, last-second touchdown to kill those. Vanderbilt was very competitive in this game. It was not... The final score is not representative of how close this game was. There was many points in time when Vanderbilt could have won this game. And early on, it was going to be a super high-scoring affair, but they just stopped scoring in the second half. A lot of that was the turnovers, right? So, again, there's been a lot of these kind of bad bounces this year where it's, this should have been more competitive, there should have been more scoring. We've had a couple of those. Again, it's only been 2 weeks, and some of our other players are doing well. Again, we've called a lot this season in terms of just the top teams and stuff. It's just that the plays that we've had have just been getting absolutely just horrific luck. Again, we've still been making good other plays and good calls about team strength and stuff, but again, just these plays, we got to get the dual model back. But again, it's not its fault when stuff like this happens, right? You can't blame it for this stuff.
Yeah. If those turnovers just happen like at midfield or something, there's probably a lot more game time here. Just that's the worst thing for an over-better. Then we have a couple here. We've got the same theme going on again. We were on the wrong side of New Mexico at San Jose State. New Mexico made a game of this late. San Jose State was really in control until the very end here. But what was interesting here is that you can just see the big difference in this game. New Mexico's getting 3. New Mexico threw 3 interceptions and wasn't able to run the ball. I think those are very much related. Not sure how San Jose State was able to slow down the running game. I'm not an X and O's guy. But I can just tell you the story right here. I didn't see much of this game. It was cooking a beef dish that took 3 hours to cook, so I had only one one eye on this game. I can just tell you though, I can just see, look, New Mexico couldn't run the ball, too much pressure on the quarterback, and he gave it up 3 times. Threw for a good amount of yards, but three interceptions is just going to kill you, absolutely kill you. So I think, however San Jose State did it, I made a whole point last week too about San Jose State's defense basically just taking a huge step back. Whatever they did, I don't know if they got a key player back or whatever. That's for guys like Duck to maybe just inform us on sometime. But this just looks like, okay, you forced, let's not forget too, Jack Lane, the quarterback of New Mexico, early season was on the bum list too. Kind of forced him back into his bum list form, I think.
Yeah, this was a very weird game. Again, I did manage to jump in. I'd been on New Mexico early, and then I managed to jump in. I think I got like at mid game, like in game, I got 11.5, so I came out okay on that. I think they only won by 9 or something.
7. It was a touchdown.
Yeah, so I came out with that one relatively unscathed. I got back in on that. But still, though, I fully expected New Mexico to win this game, and they didn't. And again, this is another one where on the road, maybe the model's kind of underestimating these road teams. Again, this is just like 4 wins this week at least. I'm not sure if that's a lot of that is historically adjusted. Yours at least is historically adjusted. Mine's like a good guess, but maybe it's a bigger penalty this year. Maybe we're just getting some abnormal ones this year. I'm not sure, but clearly there's something off here with some of these. So I don't know, but yeah, I think they couldn't run and they just had to keep throwing. And again, San Jose State, it's so weird, right? Because San Jose State is not a good team. San Jose State won this game pretty decisively because New Mexico came back to get this game closer. And then you're like, oh, then the Central Michigan team that beat them week 1 must be good, but then they lost to Akron the next day. So it's, what is happening? It's like, none of this data makes any sense. How can it be that Akron can just destroy this team when basically the day before the team that they beat is beating a New Mexico team that we thought was like okay? It's crazy. I don't understand it.
Yeah, not to get too far off path here, but I can actually see a narrative for that where basically the more the film there is for Central Michigan, and you understand what they actually are trying to do, you had no idea what you're going to get with a new coach who's an offensive line coach at Army. I think the more they see it, the more that teams are going to know how to stop it. Being in a rough spot in week 1, I think was a bad draw for San Jose State in that regard. Along the same lines, we talked about this one too. First conference road game for UTSA. UTSA, surprisingly, look, this is a bad Temple run defense here. There we go. With a defensive GGAP of 152. Somehow they're able to slow down the UTSA running game. Maybe it's a little familiarity with Casey Keeler, former Sam Houston coach, knowing a little bit of the Jeff Traylor stuff at UTSA. And they forced, as we were just talking about the bum list, they forced Owen McCown back into bum list form and 2 interceptions here. Not a particularly good 6.3 per pass either. Like rinse and repeat here between Friday night and Saturday, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think again, same thing, right? I'm starting to think that like now, because I also this week I built up my model and I was able to scrape the lines straight from ESPN. And I did it for, normally I'm only able to really bet FBS. My model does generate FCS lines, but I'm only able to, because there's so much FCS, and I'm not able to run quality checks to say, hey, is this actually legit? But I was finally actually able to scrub all the lines. And what I'm noticing is that when my model is, and it's not just like a little off, like when I'm off by like, when I'm showing value on a line of 7 to 20 points, it's great. But when my model is off by 40 points, immediately bet the other side. Just immediately bet the other side. You're going to win 9 times out of 10. And it's weird, and I'm not sure why that happens, but there's very clearly something with that where it's like if my model is too off, and again, 68 to 23, I think we should have been like, hey, alarm bells here. Maybe something is weird. And it's weird how my model is just, I just wish it was normal sometimes. It's just like, why can't you be normal? Like, why do you have a 68 here in this game? Clearly, you're not going to score 68 points, but if it was normal, it would have had that. And it's just like, why is it that it can call some amazing things? I remember 2 weeks ago, it straight up called Oregon over Penn State and Bama over Georgia. 2 of the highest profile games, nailed it right immediately. But in this game, it's just, they're going to score 68 points. No, they're not going to score 68 points. Just be normal sometimes. You could be great at other things, but just be normal sometimes in these random games. And that's the thing. It's just, yeah.
I can actually see that. Just going back to the descriptives up here, you had a really good, should have been a really good run offense here, very bad run defense here for Temple. I don't know. I'm just guessing here if it's a Casey Keeler or just knows Jeff Traylor, pardon me. Jeff Traylor's scheme from being both Texas guys.
Maybe that's the issue when my model sees a really bad mismatch on the run, whereas like one team is really good at running the ball and one team is really bad. It's just like 20-yard run, 20-yard run, 20-yard run.
But conceptually, it makes sense too. I don't know where this defensive effort from Temple came from. It just doesn't make sense. So I would bet it again. I can't make any kind of like we figured out at some point UCF's breaking the model.
Yeah.
Just don't bid. I don't see any takeaway like that here. I think it's just one of those things that's just didn't go according to plan. So
yeah.
All right, week 7 games. As a reminder, there's about 7 or 8 games we're not going to be talking about here. We'll be talking about Island time. Most of the big games, or pretty much every big game that we're not talking about in this podcast with Duck, that'll be dropping probably, we have to figure that out, a day or two after this drops. So these are dual model plays that Robert and I are going to be talking about today. The first we talked about last night was Friday night. We talked about this last week. Rutgers at Washington giving 10. I've got this as a 35-point game. You have it a meager 24. Athena has this as a 24. The big thing here is just there's one squad that sticks out as really not Big Ten quality. And as predicted in the preview, it is the Rutgers defense with Rob Smith working his magic that almost got Philip John Fleck fired from Minnesota way back when. Running the same gag at Rutgers now. I don't know what Greg Schiano was thinking, but if I'm only given 10 points here, great. I'm all over this. I've already gotten down on this one. How about you?
Yeah, I saw this one. I hesitated a little bit, but now that you're on it, I'm 100% with it as well. I think it's a great play.
Yeah, there's this. Washington is just about like this is and it's not an overplay for you. This will be an overplay when we get to that part of the pod here. But Washington's offense is good enough where this is just a mismatch right here. Now, famous last words. I said that with Temple and UTSA. Washington's at home though. Okay, Rutgers on a short travel week. I don't know why they're stuck in a situation like this. Tough spot for them. They had to travel last year to SC on a Friday as well. Like this one, Washington here. I think you mentioned the Akron Central Michigan game informs why this line is a little short. It just appears short to me. Miami of Ohio giving only 10 at Akron. Notwithstanding last week, Akron just has deficiencies all over. Reminder, these are now Apex Plus and GGAB Plus adjusted for quality of opponent. And I would just like to draw your attention to this right here. Miami of Ohio with a really good, objectively a really good pass defense across FBS, and Akron looking more like one of your poor MAC passing defenses here. I think that's the difference here. Miami of Ohio, the pass offense isn't great, but they do have DeQuan Finn, who's going to be more of a top level MAC level quarterback. Akron, Ben Finley, still on the bum list this week. He's had a few appearances there. I think that this line is so short, probably reading a lot into Akron's win last week. But I've got a 20-point game. You've got a 22, and Athena has a 20 as well. Very happy to take this one.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think Miami of Ohio beat Northern Illinois, if I'm not mistaken, or no? Or they played someone and they won, I think. Just a couple weeks ago, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to remember, but I think they did win a game, and I was relatively impressed with that. This one is just, do you believe what Akron did last week? Do you believe that existed and is repeatable? And the answer to that is probably not. So
Existed.
I think, yeah, I'm going to bet against Akron doing that again. So I think, yeah, Miami of Ohio minus 10. This is on Thursday night?
I believe, no, it's Friday night.
Friday night.
Let me see here. Miami, yeah, they just beat Northern Illinois. No, this is a Saturday game. Saturday morning.
Oh,
yep.
Okay.
Yep. All right, another MAC game. Toledo giving 10.5 at Bowling Green. My model, just the first thing that stands out to me is my model loves Toledo's defense. If I look at here again, this is adjusted for quality of opponent. This is a serious defensive apex for any team, let alone a MAC team. This looks like a repeat of the last one we said. Bowling Green just cannot stop the pass at all. I haven't checked it, but this Apex Plus for Toledo makes it, I'd guess it's got to be tops in the MAC at 102. Bowling Green, this looks like kind of expected, not a good passing team. Drew Pine, bum list member. I think Bowling Green's kind of got some lucky draws and some lucky breaks during the season. Both my model and Athena have it by 20. You've got this a 38-point game, so 10.5, unless I'm missing an injury here, seems like a gift, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Bowling Green's been a bit plucky, if you want to use that word, in the last couple of weeks.
I dropped the P from that. I just go with lucky.
Yeah, lucky
How about that?
too, yeah. They do have that cat, though, but no, I think Toledo's just a better team. And Toledo, Ohio to Bowling Green, Kentucky, not that far. This isn't that bad of a road trip.
Is this Bowling Green's in Ohio? I think, isn't it?
Is it?
There is a Bowling Green in Kentucky too, and I think there's a school in. I think there might be a school in. I don't know what that is.
It is Ohio. You're right. It's in Ohio.
Yeah. What?
It's 15 miles south of Toledo. So it's literally, this is barely a road game. Just get everybody on a bus.
What college is in Bowling Green, Kentucky? Come on, it's your Big Red.
Yeah.
Western Kentucky is in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Okay, that's weird. Okay. That's cool though, but that's still weird though. But yeah.
It is. Also, a giant red mascot like that's weird too, so it fits. All right. Be prepared to be shocked. I did not see this coming. I definitely didn't see this as a dual model play. I actually missed it a couple times. Are you ready to back the Buffs, Robert?
Oh.
I'm not. At least if there's one look, this game just screams mediocre. If I look at just the power ratings here, everything's mediocre except for weirdly Colorado's offense is a little beyond functional. Did I see that they're going to go with Juju Lewis now as their third starting quarterback of the year already?
Well, Salter wasn't good, and then they tried Staub, and that went even worse. So I think they're just like, we're at the end times here where you can't do more than that. It is very interesting that all three, your model, my model, and the Athena model, all have functionally the same score, just across the board.
Yeah.
I think it's... Here's the thing. Last week, I think my model technically called... It was a little short, but my model technically called for a play against Iowa State. It said, or play on Cincinnati against Iowa State. And I was like, I don't know about that, but maybe. And it turns out Cincinnati won that game pretty handily. Colorado is a team that my model keeps... I think last week the spread was like 14 against TCU. My model, I think, had it 11. And I didn't touch it because that's not within the play territory for me. And TCU got a lucky spread cover there. So there's... Data points keep building of maybe Colorado. I keep saying, no, stop it, brain. We're not doing that. But it keeps saying, maybe Colorado. And like, maybe Colorado? Like, maybe. It's an official dual model play. And like... They have been getting better. At a certain point, they're going to get a win. I don't know. Maybe this is the time. I don't know. But apparently Dion had a press conference where he says, "Oh, I'm in crazy pain. Maybe I have more blood clots," which is a very weird thing to say in a press conference. But okay. I don't know why you would say that, but okay. But no, it's... Yeah, at a certain point, Colorado's going to get another win. Maybe it's this Iowa State team is a bit overvalued. I remember they were like in the top 10 for a while. That was insane. But they're not bad. They're not as bad as I think some people might think they are.
I just see mediocre here. Not my measure of the be-all, end-all. I think they got a lot of mileage out of that win at over Kansas State.
Yeah.
Let me make a point. This is really weird. They played a conference game in week 0.
Yes.
Right? This is one of those seasons where we have 2 bye weeks for each team. Last week, Iowa State lost at Cincinnati. That game was at Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
How the heck can they have a back-to-back road conference games when they've already knocked one out and they have 2 weeks off? They must have a whole month of straight home games or something later. Something screwed up here.
Their schedule is very weird. And it just feels like every week Iowa State is playing, which is weird because there's a lot of schools that have had 2 bye weeks already. And it feels like every week Iowa State is playing a game. So maybe they just end maybe they're like 2 weeks before October. Everybody go home early. We're done now.
It's Iowa State. They have to harvest, right? In like the latter half of November.
They have to get back for the corn harvest. But no, I kind of want to fade this Iowa State team. And this Colorado team is not horrible. So maybe this is a fade spot. That line seems suspiciously small, as I'm sure you'll pick out too. Like, that 5.5 line is always fishy. Whenever you see that 5.5 line is always...
I don't know. And it's just weird that all 3 models have a 5-point game here in favor of Colorado, too. That's just crazy. Yeah. All right. Sounds like you've got to contemplate that a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one, I'm sure you don't have to contemplate at this point. Market's a little slow in Old Dominion. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. And this is a spot this is a spot our models feast on, right?
Yeah.
Undervalued G5 team versus overvalued G5 team based on last year's expectation. This is what the books love doing. They love shaving off an extra score. So when you have a team that was good, a G5 team that was good last year going up against a team like this year, right? They're like, oh, shave off. Because if not, then they know everybody's going to bet on Marshall. Like, Marshall was Sunbelt champs last year. Not really. Not this Marshall, at least, wasn't Sunbelt champs last year. And this is one my model loves too, and I think I'm going to take this one as well. I think this would be a pretty good. This is a good play.
And we both, what's interesting too is, as I mentioned towards the top of this one, Old Dominion with an elite offense here, and that qualifies for an overplay. And you have this going to 71. I have it 64, and Athena has it 66. So you've got three different models that have it going comfortably over the total of 55 and a half. Will be interesting to see if that moves. If I look again, now we have Apex here and GGAB Plus here. If I look at this kind of looks, I'm trying to think of who this profile for ODU looks like. I'm going to say something absurd. I'm trying to think who's really can run the ball, pass it okay, really good pass defense and okay against the run. Yeah. That's not too far off.
Indiana last year?
I think they're the class of the G5. Yeah?
Yeah.
Notwithstanding Armin Green.
But see, this is the thing, right? See, we're picking up on this. We had ODU last week. It wasn't even in question against... Again, we are quick to pick up on these schools, and it's only going to be until it's, oh, hey, look, ODU won the Sun Belt with one loss to Indiana, and people are like, oh, shoot, are they the G5 representative? If USF loses this week, or North Texas, or, like, if some of those guys keep losing, or Boise gets another loss somewhere... People are going to be like, oh, hey, what's this, like, one-loss Sunbelt champ? Oh, they only lost by 2 scores to Indiana? Hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I'm going to make a really old-timey reference here. So I'm a subscriber to Investors Business Daily, and one of the kind of the precepts is if the CEO of a company is on the... doesn't even make sense anymore, the reference, but if the CEO of the company is on the cover of Forbes or Fortune or Money Magazine, sell, because basically you've gotten all the pub, and it's just going to go down from there. And I think with ODU, once actually, he's my favorite guy to pick on. Once I see an ODU reference in Stuart Mandel's athletic column, then I'll know, okay, this train ride's about to end. Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
And so to be clear, Old Dominion side 14 seems like a bargain here, and then also the over 55 and a half, which I think both these numbers are going to move quite a bit. There's no stink line here. It's just the market's slow. And to your point, some ding-dongs probably still think that, oh, Marshall defending Sun Belt champs. They'll find a way, right? Yeah. Man, here's another one. Are you familiar with the movie A Few Good Men that came out when you were like 2 years old? Jack Nicholson?
Okay. It sounds familiar, but I've never seen it, though.
All right. There's a famous line where a guy writes a letter. He says, I am proud neither of what I am done nor am about to do. And I just bring this up because... everybody is saying we have to bet UAB. I'm not happy about this, Robert.
Yeah.
Now, FAU admittedly has some serious problems on defense, as you can see here, but UAB is just as bad. I guess FAU doesn't have that passing game we had thought when we did the Conference USA preview with the Apex Plus at 51, so maybe they're thinking, everybody puts it together and says they're not going to be able to take care of or really address the gaping hole that is UAB passing defense here. Interesting. We've both got this the wrong team favored. We don't even have this close. I'm sorry. We're not close to the line here. I've got UAB by 5. You've got them by 10, and Athena has them by 4. But all three have basically the dog winning straight up here.
UAB, my model had them this week against the Army. They got crushed, but I still think they're still a good team. So this might be a play, Yeah,
I don't know. There's nothing. I don't know. I'm going to say something really mean here. Who's really just the least intelligent in the dumb group here? Here's what I'll say. I just not a lot to like about UAB, I don't think. But all right. I don't like when the models. This just feels like Northern Illinois last year. Although I like the coach, I like the team. New Mexico just lost one that they shouldn't have lost. That kind of wasn't foreseen, and now the model's just telling me again. Okay, yeah, I got you though. They're gonna cover the 16.5 at Boise. I guess the thing is, man, Boise is just a mediocre team. This is mediocre for Mountain West, not just nationally. You're basically just average here. Below average on offense, a little bit above average on defense here. New Mexico at least is trending in the right direction. I think that there's probably a little juice here based on UCLA's win. That's really just giving a goose to their numbers here. But I've got this 9-point game. You have New Mexico by 13. God bless your model here.
This is where I get nervous with my model because I'm like, oh, maybe this is wrong. But no, my model's like straight up New Mexico favorite. I'm not sure specifically why my model loves New Mexico. Maybe it's because it thinks New Mexico is good at passing the ball and Boise State is really bad at defending against the pass. So it's just, oh, cool, they win, I guess, if that makes... And, like, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, let's go back to this. Remember Jack Lane was on the bum list about 3 or 4 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
And you got an Apex Plus here that's above 100. So maybe he was playing some sneaky tough competition?
Maybe.
I don't know. And look, this is not a good number here for Boise. If I got 2 even pass defenses here, literally a defensive Apex Plus, literally within a point of each other, who does that sound like going to have the better day passing? I guess New Mexico, right? New Mexico not quite as explosive, but they're just more efficient here. And again, you had some learning curve issues here in New Mexico too. Boy, this is again, I can't shake the Northern Illinois last year. I'm gonna wait for it to hopefully get to 17. Just 16.5 is such a bad number here for such a, I don't say a stretch, but such a one that doesn't really resonate with my bones. And I like Eck, and I like what he's doing here. I'm gonna talk myself into it. Look, Boise's not that good, right? Average offense, average defense.
Yeah, wasn't this the upset that cost, like, a couple years ago? Wasn't it, like, New Mexico? Wasn't it this exact line, too? Boise State versus New Mexico that got someone fired from Boise State, like their old head coach fired like 3 years ago?
No, that was the offensive coordinator.
Yes. That's what kind of started the whole thing rolling here, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And it was against New Mexico, too. Not New Mexico State,
It was.
New Mexico, yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was Denny Gonzalez. That's when Denny Gonzalez was in Mexico. I forget the old offensive coordinator, but that's when they brought in Dirk Cutter.
Yeah.
As stealth head coach.
And now But now we've come full circle. Now Dirk Cutter's no longer the head coach.
As you can see by the metrics here. They're just I think there's a lot of I'm going to talk myself into it right now. There's a lot of fairy dust, I think, into this 16.5.
Yeah, there's a lot of Boise State's going to win the conference. New Mexico isn't good. Also, quick note on that, sneaky look-ahead line for New Mexico last week, because it was a look-ahead spot last week against San Jose State when they had to win Boise next week. Maybe that's why they underperformed against San Jose State.
Yeah, you know what? If I just do these, again, if I anonymize this, I don't have these two teams, and I just say, look, the home team's got a really good home field advantage for the conference, okay? So we'll give them like maybe six points, more than average. But these all look like I'm fighting to a draw, basically. I've got a better defense here on run on New Mexico. I've got a better coach for New Mexico, too. This guy made the FCS playoff 3 years. Spencer Danielson, look, he made the playoffs last year, but that was because he had one guy. Literally, he had one guy. One guy. I think as a head coach, I'm going to, okay. I'm still going to hope to get 17. Saying that, I'll be really interested to see how the line moves. Do you have the latest line on this?
I had it up, but it was using too much internet, so I had to turn it off.
Doug would have it on one of his 7 monitors.
Yeah, like his Bloomberg terminal. 16.5, still 16.5.
Okay. I'm going to be really interested to see how this one moves. Yeah, you know what? I talked through it. Yeah, I'll do it. I'm still going to try to get 17. But the thing is 16.5, it can move, 2 points, and it won't hurt me at all if it moves against me.
Yeah, 16.5 is a fair line. This is a Saturday night game.
Yes.
This is one of the last games, actually. This will be kicking probably at or near the end of Oregon, Indiana. I think.
Is that
that's at 3:30. That's 3:30. No, the 7 o'clock game is Michigan. USC. Yeah. So this is.
Yes.
It's about 2.5 hours after that game, because the other game is South Carolina LSU. That's the SEC game. That's horrible. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. We've got Arizona State Utah at the same time. Actually, half hour after this game. So you've actually got like a sneakily good 10 something schedule, and of course you've got the Mountain Time game, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in Mountain Time. Or Island Time, sorry. Island Time. The Island Time game we're going to talk about in Island Time, not Mountain Time.
You're being too. That's not on TV. You're not being optimistic enough because that is
here
a
we
dual
go.
model
Yeah.
this way. Yeah.
I already played this game, actually. Yeah.
There you go. Yep. And I love it when your futures line up with a dual model plays here. I've got it at 11. Athena's got it at 11. You've got it 23. Again, this is another one, too. I actually, when I was begging Duck for permission to play Utah State at Vandy, this is the kind of spot I was looking for. The market, I think, is just doesn't... I'll put it this way. There's not a lot of... Not to say, hey, look how awesome I am. I don't think a lot of people really understand this disparity right here, just in the first line right here, Apex Plus, right? Believe me, coming into the season, I was laughing at like Bryson Barnes at quarterback, but our guy Bronco found a way to do it. And I don't think anybody understands the quantification here would really understand the scale by which Utah State's passing game far surpasses Hawaii's. You've got actually, you're better on both sides of the ball right here. We all have double-digit blowouts. So happy to bet this one.
And to be fair, honestly, I half expect that. If you look at the results from the season, it should be that. Now, the question is, does the book have that too, and they're just putting that line up there because that's for betting purposes? Like, the thing is, what would happen if that line was Utah State minus 7.5? Everybody's just going to bet on Hawaii, right? So they kind of need to get equal action. So maybe are they thinking that people will take people like, oh, it's Utah State, they're horrible. Hawaii will win this game. No, Utah State's actually like scarily good. Like, they're an insane team.
Yeah, and maybe there's a little bit of island Hawaii versus mainland Hawaii angle in that too. I can't see how they're favored here. Literally, every single matchup in the top half of this graphic just says Utah State. Utah State better passing offense. If I look at the matchups here against who's going to have the better day passing, it's Utah State. Utah State the better running game here. If I project against the defenses here, okay, I've got a little bit of a gap here, but a much more bigger gap offensively. Utah State have more success running the ball. Explosivity is a draw. It's a lot of money pointing to the Island Magic.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, right? I think there's a lot of that. Like, there seems to be a lot of faith in Hawaii, which I don't think is particularly well placed. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Now we're going to the totals here. Mentioned this team Pitt throughout the top of the podcast here. The one kind of squad that sticks out here in this game as well below average, the rest of them, is the Pitt offense. It'll be interesting to see. Now, BC, clearly, I'm thinking when you give up 30 to Stanford, you're not a great defensive team, so maybe they picked a really easy spot for the new quarterback for Pitt. But they're throwing the ball reasonably well, explosive as we talked about in the team Ryan. But this is what stands out to me. You've got a pretty good pass defense here. I'd say good. I'd kill to have my team with that good of a pass defense against a really good pass defense here at Florida State. I think it's fair to say that the second game for the quarterback at Pitt's going to be very different from the first one too. And here you've got Pitt as an elite run-stopping defense, and Florida State is very good against the run. I've got a total of 45. You have 47. Athena has 51. Athena runs a little higher than BuckMetrics, but still, even the highest is more than a touchdown. A touchdown and a half below the posted total of 58 here, so underplay for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Florida State also. I think the Florida State Miami game went under 2, if I'm not mistaken.
It did. Yep.
Yeah. So Florida State sneakily like not the greatest on offense. So we'll see. Interesting though that I have Pitt favored here. You have Florida State favored here. But narrowly though. I don't know if this would be Florida State's third loss. That'd be a lot of losses. But this Pitt team is not bad. If you told me this Pitt team won, I wouldn't be... It would just be really confusing as to what happened in week 1. Really. And I think this is one of the reasons why my model is so low on Alabama, because that week 1 game is just there. It's just throbbing right there. And I think mine is, hey, this is like the most recent data point you have of Florida State, and my model still thinks Florida State isn't good. I'm fairly sure it's clean through most of last year's data at this point. But at the same point in time, it's, okay, yeah, you beat Alabama. Great. You lost to Virginia. You lost to Miami relatively handily. Like, you came back, but the initial yards per play stuff doesn't look good for you. So this is where, like, my model has Pitt favored, and I could see Pitt winning. But again, if Pitt's winning this game, it's going to be a defensive slog, and they're just going to scrape out a win.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, you mentioned Cincinnati as a contender. I don't know. I'll put it this way. I mentioned last week that they look to be like a classic Satterfield team, good offense, bad defense, like kind of his usual Louisville teams. And I think that Cincinnati just by itself is just an over team waiting to happen. Elite offense, bad defense. I'll say this about this 4.4 for Central Florida's defensive power rating. It was a lot higher 2 weeks ago. They've just gone the wrong way. Or 3 weeks ago, they've just gone the wrong way as they're just regressing to the mean. I know that shocked some people that Alex Grinch could not hold it together for that long, but I've got a total of 68. Athena has 72, and you've got a close game here. It's somehow Central Florida winning with a gaudy total of 77, but we're all way over the total here. And again, we do have an elite offense here of Cincinnati, which makes it a qualified to play here.
Yeah, the over should be fine. I still do worry a little bit about UCF. I don't love playing UCF, but yeah, I think Cincinnati really good offense, and Central Florida UCF figured it out against Kansas. So yeah, an overplay here I think is very fair. That's a fair play.
Yeah, a lot of margin there too by all three models. All right, you were hoping that we talk about this one, and we are. Ohio State at Michigan. You said, I believe that was in, it was in, we were doing the Week 6 review. You think that Illinois might not give them a game here? We've all got this kind of on the number from a side total. I've got it 15, you've got it 13, Athena has it 15. But the thing is, we all have it going over. The total looks low here, 51.5. My model 65, your model 63. And Athena has it 59, the lowest of the three, which is still plenty of margin here. This gets tricky when you have a team like Ohio State that's elite on both sides of the ball. I guess maybe if I'm looking for kind of like the pressure point, the release pressure point here, it's this Illinois defense, which is really just average. This is interesting because if this is going to go over, it's probably going to be Ohio State just running it up on Illinois, which kind of goes against what you were saying in the Week 6 review. You think Illinois might give them a game here. So are you more inclined to think that Illinois will give them a game, or to think that this will go over?
I can see a scenario where this kind of looks a lot like the USC Illinois game, where it's just two offenses trading blows. Right? I'm fairly sure Ohio State's offense is very comparable, if not similar to USC's offense in terms of power ranking. And Illinois' got to be up there as well. Now, obviously, Ohio State's defense is better, but again, for some reason, Washington just couldn't get it done against Ohio State. It seems really weird that Ohio State's defense has just been given this free ride of Archie Manning, surprisingly really bad Damon Williams, and then Minnesota. This is the best quarterback they faced so far this year until we start getting into Penn State later on this year, but then even then that's questionable. And then once we start getting into Big Ten championship game playoffs. So it's very weird. I think I'm not completely bought in on this Ohio State team yet. If I'm doing this, I'm very questioning this Ohio State team. I do not fully believe in it. I think that win against Texas keeps looking worse and worse every week. Texas underperforms. Yeah, Ohio State dominated Minnesota. That Washington one was closer than the scoreboard looked. That was very close for most of that game. Just very low scoring. I think Illinois has the power, the punch that can actually score points against this Ohio State team. I'm going to go with Illinois here, and I think an overplay here is very fair. Because, again, there is still that tail risk of Ohio State just blowing them out. But if Illinois scores, like, a surprise touchdown on, like, the first drive or something, this game probably goes over. Just because it's like Illinois will score, then Ohio State will score, then Illinois scores, then Ohio State scores, and you're already at 28. And then if Ohio State tries to cover the spread, then you're done. Game over. Like, I feel like if you can get into early game where they're trading blows in, like, the first and second quarter, if you get 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, this game's going over. So.
Yeah, I like that, the trading punches, and I guess maybe the other way to look at it is, I totally botched my question. If Illinois trades punches with Ohio State, it does go over. Because, as a reminder for those who forgot or didn't know, again, since they changed the rules, it's consistent as all heck. The average FBS game had a total of 56 for years and years. And they changed the rules, it's been 53 for 3 or 4 years now. It's just consistent as all heck. So a below average total here is interesting. The other thing too is I'm so glad I have the Apex Plus and the GGAB Plus here now, because I wouldn't have even guessed that once you, where are you? Oops, come back here, sweetheart. I'm gonna grab my laser pointer. There we go. I would never have guessed that actually Illinois has the better Apex Plus here once you adjust for strength of opponent. And to your point, that it does point to there's the capacity, if not the ability, to trade punches, maybe only for three quarters. Who knows? But I don't know. USC is hardly the gold standard on defense, but I don't know if USC even made him punt. Illinois had a couple of kind of dumb fumbles in that game. One was forced and one was not a fumble.
Yeah.
They were never stopped in that game. And Purdue not an elite team. Illinois with 47 points against them. Yeah, I could see that scenario unfolding. Actually, that's a good one. Boy, you want to talk about pointsy as an adjective here. Air Force at UNLV, giving 6 at home. As I said, Air Force loves to move the ball, does not like to tackle. UNLV, I was a little surprised that these are so closer to the mean, because if you watch UNLV, they just look like a team that's all offense and just can't line up right on defense here. If they're lining up right, they're doing more than Air Force, who clearly, look at this defensive rating here, minus 18.3. Maybe they line up like 7 guys on defense. I don't know. I haven't really seen a lot of Air Force this year. Maybe they're just trying something different, not lining up 11 guys, but all of us have. We don't really have the same result. You've got Air Force by 1, but again, the total 79. The BuckMetrics model has a total of 86, and then Athena has 88. And again, Athena runs a little high here. But these are all multiple scores above the posted total of 67, which is a high total too. But again, UNLV's got a good offense, and just basically Air Force does not tackle.
Yeah, I agree with that. UNLV also pretty high scoring in a lot of these games too. Their defense is not good, so I think, yeah, this game it's already 67, so they're already saying it's going to be high scoring. But yeah, this screams over.
Yeah, this could be one of those crazy ones that like it's a high number, and then they're almost there at halftime too. Still,
yeah,
right? It's 28-24 at halftime. A similar game, at least in terms of just one team really moving the ball and not really liking to tackle, Navy. Let's just go back. What was the score of that game last week? I think it was 34-31 between Navy and Air Force. And let's not forget, usually those totals in those games posted were usually 33, 34, and they would always go under.
Yeah.
The academies are really different now. Really different now. They're trying different stuff, and I think it's catching a lot of people off guard. And maybe they're just working on it at the expense of anything resembling a defense here, because that's what I'm seeing, a similarity between Navy and Air Force. We've got a really efficient offense here. Total's 52.5, so basically average. My model has 65. Athena has 67. You've got 77 here, all pretty heavily in favor of Navy. Not enough to make it a play because, was that 15? Yeah, just short. So if anything, I think this number moves, well, I don't know. I was wrong about Temple last week, but I think if this number moves down, which I don't think, it would be a play. If it goes to 8, then basically there's a 7-point margin here for BuckMetrics, and you've got plenty of margin here. But for now, it's an over. This is actually a pretty decent pass defense here, but I think there's enough questions about the run defense here where Navy can probably do their thing. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think so. Neither of these defenses are good. 52 is actually a relatively low total. Obviously, Navy and Air Force, it was over, but remember, those are 2 running offenses, so that's a lot of eating up of clock, and they still went massively over, right? So I feel like you get an offense that can pass, and then you can hit some overs here. So 52, I think, is very doable in this game.
Yep. And I believe this is the last one here. Yes, it is. Counterintuitive. When I think Michigan, basically slow grinded out, but I also have number 1 team. And I think, have you heard of anybody else with Michigan as a number 1 team?
No, I don't think so. But I think they're up there. I don't think they're the number 1 team, but I think they're definitely up there.
Yeah, they seem a little underrated too. They seem rated more in that 10 to 15 range, which fine, whatever. It'll iron itself out, but just my model loves their offense. They've got Michigan as a better offensive team here, and this looks a lot like that Ohio State to Illinois graphic, does it not? Basically, in this little quadrant right here, and Ohio State or USC runs the ball better than in Illinois here, but this looks really similar. Michigan's a better defense than Ohio State, it looks like. Interestingly, you've got basically a tie game. I've got both models. I've got basically Michigan by 9, but again, here's the totals. BuckMetrics 67, Robert 66, and Athena again runs a little high at 71, but all 3 are very well above the 54.5. And if I just think about how the game unfolds, I would usually think it's going to go below that, but The bad news is the good news. Bad news for USC is that Michigan popped a lot of long ones last year against USC. So you get some running games that some runs that just go for a touchdown pretty quickly in this one, more than you expect.
Yeah, I could see it over here. Michigan does have a really good defense, though. They did underperform a little bit against Wisconsin, though. But Wisconsin just they scored a last-minute touchdown to cover the spread, and Michigan didn't really care. I think they wanted to move on to USC. But also Wisconsin's defense is okay, but USC's defense is not okay. So I don't know the over. It seems a bit aggressive, but maybe if they let CJ Carr throw the ball, anything could happen.
Underwood, you mean?
Oh, sorry, Bryce Underwood. CJ Carr is the Notre Dame quarterback. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bryce Underwood. Yeah, Biff Povich let him throw it. Sharon Moore has not yet let him do that, so that's very interesting.
Yeah, and from here's another thing that's interesting too is I think I put this in the DMs with you and Isaiah too. USC is giving too, and again I checked this I think this morning too. In if it's weirdly this is a stink line, and Michigan again I've got them basically favored by 9. I can't imagine. It just feels like they should be favored by at least a field goal plus. If it sticks like this is the somebody knows something, this the stink line here. And I think obviously just you look at Michigan, this is tough to navigate here. Just a ridiculously good pass defense here and a really good run defense here. And maybe it's just like you get picked. Maybe it's as simple as this is like I said, I think this is USC's. It's their best group of running backs. It's their best running game. It's by far the best offensive play calling that Lincoln Riley's done at USC. So the really fun matchup is probably why I think maybe just the experts or the market makers or whatever, the market is saying USC's going to get the better of that battle to a degree. Now, I guess they just pass on the whole Michigan offense against USC's very generous defense. I don't know. Do you agree with my kind of theory here that right now this line stinks?
There is something weird about it. I will say I have it even. Even I'm like slight Michigan play. I feel like Michigan should be favored, but again, though, when we're talking about all these games, and we've been talking about Texas massively underperforming at Florida, Penn State underperforming at UCLA, UTSA underperforming at Temple, New Mexico underperforming at San Jose State. Now, some of those are bigger road trips than others, but it's seeming, and heck, you can even throw Washington in there against Maryland as well. They won, but they didn't cover the spread. We're seeing, especially on these longer road trips, we're seeing far more variability in that, like far more. They're much more underperforming on the road than they normally would be, and I think maybe this is like penciling in. Hey, maybe we don't know how good Michigan's actually going to be here.
Yeah, that's a good thing about the road game too. And I will tell you that I know this venue. So it's kind of like the only one I've been to besides the Rose Bowl. I know this venue very well, and it's not really tough for opponents to play in, except in this window. The 4:30 Pacific, 5 o'clock Pacific window is when everybody wants to go, especially for a game like Michigan. You're going to have literally just the people who are at the yacht basin who are too cool and just don't want to go, or they're going to leave early. These are the people that are going to be there. They don't have to leave at 5 in the morning. They can leave at a civilized time. They can still go to Erewhon and get their breakfast in and then go tailgate at USC. Literally for 6 hours. And just get really juiced up for this game. And this is going to be the 4:35 p.m. Pacific time Coliseum is the toughest one for opponents. It's a very different venue. So that's interesting too. But again, I don't know. I can't bet against my own team. Thank your model from saving me from having to pass on a dual model play. All right. Interesting though. That'll be a fun one. Good slate of games this weekend, and we haven't even gotten to a lot of them too. Some that we still need to get to Island time. Here are the totals. My model totals that are not per yours, but unlike last week, I don't have a bunch of red where you're trying to put the brakes on my plays here. Rutgers at Washington. I talked about that a little. I have that as an over. You've got that basically right on the number here. Athena likes it too. Nebraska at Maryland. This just makes sense to me. The only thing that Maryland does well now is defense. Their offense is taking a step back. Nebraska, really good defensive team as well. Don't know if it's going to come in at 31 as the BuckMetrics model has it, but I still like the under here. You got two good defenses here. And any opinion on those two games?
No, if you're on my model, it's just exactly on the total. That's weird, especially in those two games. And pretty much across the board, it's relatively close to the total number. But I think my game does have some issues navigating figuring out exactly how good defenses interact with each other. I feel like my model just defaults to more points being scored in some ways. That's not actually how it works, but I feel like it just has that. So there needs to be more defensive adjustments in the model going forward. I think that's part of it right there.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Oklahoma at Texas at Island time, but we do have two good defenses that qualify. 42.5 is a low number, but I've got 10 points of clearance there, so comfortable with that. We talked about that, the background of that in part one when we reviewed week 6, so we'll talk about that in more detail with Duck. This is interesting. I've got Virginia Tech at Georgia Tech going over. I've got a total of 65, and like I said, Athena runs a little high, so she's saying 68. You've got that on the number. I think that look. I'm not a super narrative guy, but if I'm going to go narrative here, I think Virginia Tech's kind of got like the new coach thing out of the way, and they're like in the exhale, like crap. How much longer is this season going to go? I'm guessing they've had like guys go in the portal and all that stuff. This just feels like a blowout to me.
Yeah, it should be a blowout, but Virginia Tech got their kind of like emotional win and cover against NC State, but Georgia Tech is legitimately an ACC competitor. They're probably the only one that can really challenge Miami at this point, and they're also like they're like one of their number one rivals there in that case too, because of the game that they shouldn't have won but they did. So yeah, Georgia Tech. Now the thing is though, again though, my one thing with Georgia Tech is I don't love Georgia Tech with expectations. When they have expectations, that's when they falter a little bit. So I don't love having Georgia Tech cover big spreads, but I might play that.
Yeah, and don't know if you're going to play this one, but it doesn't sound like you're going to watch it. You didn't have good things to say about South Carolina at LSU. I've got a really good defense here at South Carolina and LSU both. Gosh, 41 is a low total. This feels like a Big Ten West game of last few years. I've got to go in 33. You're on the number. Athena, which runs high, still has its 33 here. Don't know if you noticed, but LSU's got a little challenges on offense. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I've noticed that a little bit. Yeah. But that's going to be a very weird game. I don't think LSU is good, but I think South Carolina is a lot worse than we thought they were. Yeah, if South Carolina, sorry, it's getting late here, but no, if South Carolina wins and covers that spread, that's not impossible. I could definitely see that happening.
Yep. And last one here, BYU at Arizona. I've got two really good defenses here. Again, 30. Don't know if I'm gonna really. I love good rock fight, but this just seems. I don't know. This just looks like a fist fight. Not even that. I don't know. Fist fight's not even that fun. I don't know. I don't know. Just like Neanderthals fight with, just like clubs. This would be like two
Bones.
clubs, basically. It's a woolly mammoth. Yeah, remains just being bashed over the head. Don't know. 30 seems a little low, but Athena still gives me 10 points of margin. You're going over here. If you do, then great. Maybe you're probably looking at the quality of defense or opponent for Arizona, normalizing for that. But I've got two good defenses here, so I'm going to trust that, and I'm definitely like I said before, my model does better on unders than overs, so I'll play this one. You got a total play here?
No, I am a little scared of the BYU and Arizona offenses. They do seem good, so I'm a little scared about that one. But that's my only pause in here. But their defenses are both pretty good too, though, so we'd have to see.
Yep. Okay, and then finally, just a review of our preseason upset predictions. I whiffed big on BC over Pitt. I've got a couple games coming up this week. Kansas over Texas Tech. We'll talk about that in Island time, so don't want to spoil that. Just going back to Air Force at UNLV. This is not where I thought it was going to be. I thought maybe Air Force might want to tackle. But I don't know. I guess anything can happen in a game where neither team really likes to play any defense. I guess that's kind of live, right?
It's very possible. I think is that spread 9.5. I think
6.5. 6.5.
6.5. Okay, that's very possible. Kansas over Texas Tech. That's less possible. But Air Force over UNLV. I think that's more doable.
And you have TCU over Kansas State. You got to be feeling good about that, right?
Pretty good, but for some reason the spread is like even. It's -1, I think, last time I saw. Yeah, -1.5, -118 money line. So, again, it's less of a. Had this game happened, what would this have been preseason? 7.5.
Yeah.
And it's not 7.5 anymore. So there's definitely a lot of closing line value there.
And yeah, if let's just say Sunday morning you didn't see any lines or anything, you hadn't run your model yet, you would just think TCU by at least 4, 5, 6, right?
At least, yeah.
Yeah, so I trust that. Now, maybe this is the year of just what do I want to call it, the home field, the absurd home field advantage. I don't know. The home field pull, gravitational pull. We'll have to figure out a name for that. But
Yeah.
maybe that's it. I don't know. But I don't know what Kansas State does better than TCU. Avery Bradley seems to be playing a little better right now, but I like TCU as a whole. Their only losses to Arizona, again, I thought they were undefeated. I forgot against the Arizona State game. I think Arizona State's good.
They almost beat them too.
Yeah, Kansas State, I need it proven to me. So I think you're in pretty solid footing here.
I think so too. We'll have to see. I'm excited to see that game. That game is 3:30. Another 3:30 kick on Saturday.
Cool. So maybe on the smaller screen, because that's when Oregon, Indiana is, right?
Oregon, Indiana, and Red River.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so used to Red River being that Fox Big Noon.
Yeah,
But
and it's not.
ABC doesn't use that time spot for the big games.
No.
ABC, ESPN. Yep. Okay. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you all tuning in and sticking with us, even though we are a couple games under 500. We are trying our best. We hope it'll turn around soon. Be sure to join us for Island Time. That'll be dropping probably a day or two after you see this. So we will talk to you then. Until then, be well.
See ya.